The best part of my job is like engaging with the community, getting to know different walks of life, different lifestyles from different people, driving customers from point A to point B safely and efficiently, and letting them see this pretty face, you know. You're the captain of the ship. I kind of set the tone of the bus, you know, just greeting the passengers, good morning, good evening, good night, you know. Greeting them kind of makes them feel welcome on the bus. The free fares has helped out tremendously, especially with COVID. It's a hard time. Everybody's facing like hardships or loss of jobs. So it helps them out, you know, to get, they probably need to go to a job or a job interview. So you're helping them out get into that job interview. Somebody needs to go to a doctor appointment because they, you know, they battling COVID. You're helping them get to their appointments, just getting around the city and going about their daily lives. The electric bus is more quieter than a fossil fuel. With a fossil fuel, you have the possibility of intaking fumes. It's more cleaner because it's electric, obviously, so which is better for the environment, you know, less pollution, especially what's going on now in the world with global warming and changes of the weather. Is we trying to help contribute giving back to the environment, right? Every single customer always, thank you, you know, as they're leaving the bus, they always make, and they make sure they come from the back of the bus to the front of the bus just to tell me, thank you. You know, you did a good job. Oh, that makes me feel very wonderful.
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday to everyone. My name is Bakari Height, Transit Equity Organizer for Labor Network for Sustainability, and we thank you for joining us today for a very special meeting. Um, Shout out to everyone that I've been in contact with within the past couple of weeks. I know I've been all over the place, and I will be all over the place next week. So, Philly, I'm looking out for you at the Impact Conference, as well as with the various meetings that I'll be having all over the DMV, at the National Electrical Manufacturers Association, at the Annapolis State Capitol, as well as the few meetings I'm about to show you all to in a few minutes, as well as with my folks in Atlanta. I know there's a lot of referendums going on in the Metro Atlanta area, as well as all around the country. So this is absolutely a huge push to encourage everyone to please go out and vote and make your voice heard. Your voice is absolutely paramount to the process of transportation, and that's the first point that you are making as far as making your voice heard with a lot of this. So please make sure that you go out and vote and that you make your voice heard. But huge shout out to everyone that I've been in contact with, as well as with all of the wonderful organizers who are making a lot of this happen. I wanted to come to you today to talk about a couple of things. As you can see in the title, we're going to be talking about the BMore bus plan, which is a huge redesign of the bus network in the core service area of the Baltimore region in Central Maryland. And we'll also be talking about some other meetings that, if you're in the Maryland area, that you can get involved in. And if you're not in these areas, this will also be helpful for you to identify some things within bus network redesigns. So we'll be going over that. But first, some housekeeping things. Make sure you follow us on all of our social medias, at Facebook at Transit Equity Network. Shout out to everyone who's been following us on our Facebook page. We're well over 100 members, so continue to invite all of your labor and your organizer friends or anyone who's interested in transit. We're putting a lot of great transit information out there, so we would like for everyone to definitely follow us. Also follow us on our Twitter page. We're at Twitter at Transit Equity In. That's Transit Equity In. We're also getting a lot of traction on our Twitter page, as well as with following us on our YouTube page, which you'll be watching us from here today. That's youtube.com/the Transit Equity Network. We're going to be putting more content on this YouTube page, so that'll be a great way for you to just get into everything. But without further ado, I wanted to show a page, and especially if you're in the state of Maryland. Maryland's currently has released their comprehensive transportation plan. And essentially, that is a 6-year plan where Maryland puts up a lot of the projects that they're going to be working for in the next 6 years. It's also going towards the capital budget. So one of the things that I wanted to highlight with this is that they're going to be doing some meetings to where they're going to be going to different parts of Maryland, which they've already started going to different parts of Maryland, to getting folks ideas about what they want to see with this. And if I could just go back to the page, I can show you when these next few meetings are. But yeah, a lot of groups in Maryland have found that they're really going to be taking a lot from transit, and that transit's not going to be fully funded in order to keep the systems running. So I implore anyone who's in Maryland, or if you know anyone in Maryland, to definitely get involved with this, because it's really going to be key, and especially for making a lot of these things happen. But I found the page as far as the tour that the Maryland Department of Transportation is going on. So this will be an open meeting that the public can attend, and it's essentially to give your thoughts on this CTP, as they call it. But definitely go and make use of this time to go to the meeting. Now, since today we're doing our video on October 18th, I will go to the next few meetings. So if you're in Garrett County, which is in far western Maryland, the meeting is already passed. Next week, there will be 2 meetings, one in Baltimore City at 10 a.m. at the Baltimore City Hall, Board of Estimates Meeting Room 215, 100 Holiday Street, Baltimore, Maryland 21202. You can also view the meeting at www.charmtvbaltimore.com, where you can live stream the meeting. There will also be a meeting at Baltimore County at Towson University, and there's also a meeting number and access code that you can tune into the meeting, and you can also tune in to Baltimore County's YouTube page to attend that meeting. There will also be meetings in Caroline, Talbot, and Dorchester County in the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and there will also be meetings going on in Prince George's County and Montgomery County on Thursday, October 24th. Harford County will also be on October 28th at the Council Chambers at 212 South Bond Street in Bel Air. So if you're in Maryland, or if you know anybody in Maryland that transportation is a really big deal to them, please get them to go and attend these meetings so that they can get more information about this. And if you'd like more information on that, I will drop it into the chat as well as into the emails. Now, with that being said, I wanted to go over the BMore bus plan. Now, essentially, this is a program that the Maryland Transit Administration has launched. And I'll read through this because this is my first time seeing this. And the comments are due today on October 18th. So like I said in the emails into the chats, if you haven't been able to do it and you live in Baltimore, we'll be doing it together. So I'll read through this, and it says, MTA has launched BMore Bus, a transit plan for the Baltimore region that will identify bus service improvements that could be possible with expanded resources over the next 10 years. BMore Bus is guided by the Regional Transit Plan, MTA's 25-year vision for improving public transportation in Central Maryland, as well as priorities and data analysis. Once complete, BMore Bus will show a vision for additional bus service in the Baltimore region that MTA could work towards implementing over the next decade. So essentially, it's a plan for improving bus and general transit service, with this being a larger focus on bus. And I know a lot of cities like Philly, Atlanta, and other places are working on bus network redesigns. So if you don't live in Baltimore, if you don't live in Central Maryland, this would be a good exercise to look out for some of the key things that would go towards a bus network redesign. But it continues on saying, a better bus system is possible. What improvements are being considered? More frequent service, newer modified routes to serve destinations and connections, longer hours of operation, new services like limited stop routes and on demand transit, and more. It also answers to reliability. What about reliability? I just want my bus to arrive on time. Recommendations in the BMore bus plan will ultimately help MTA strengthen its service reliability. MTA's continued focus on infrastructure investments like dedicated bus lanes and transit signal priority, as well as efforts to hire a complete team of bus operators and mechanics to limit unplanned service cuts, will further increase reliability and set the stage for a successful implementation of the BMore bus plan in years to come. So reliability is something that is really key in a lot of bus network redesigns. A lot of people really just want their bus to show up when it's scheduled to show up. So this and making comments like this are key. If you have something like this, it's important that you make sure that you make comments, even if it's something as small as, I want my bus to stop at this block instead of this block. Those things matter. And those are things that these transit agencies should be looking at. So you see, this is where the study area is. It's fixated on Baltimore City, but also includes Baltimore County, some parts of Howard County, and some parts of Anne Arundel County. And it says BMore Bus will focus on MTA's core bus service area, which includes service on CityLink Bus, QuickLink Bus, Local Link Bus, and Express Link Bus routes, and connections to the broader Central Maryland region as we consider potential service improvements. So this gives a good sense of, all the areas that it serves and what types of bus services it serves. CityLink Bus is more of the rapid services where you can have headways of 15 minutes or less. Quick Link Bus are more the limited stop buses to where you're not stopping at every single block, but you're stopping at every other block. Local link buses are the local service buses where they do stop at every single stop, and express link buses are generally serving a particular area. And in this case, it could be the port or Johns Hopkins. So these are examples of that. Now, as far as the timeline, right now we're in the draft recommendations to where we're looking at these improved scenarios and improvements and getting feedback from the public. In winter 2025, they'll release the final plan with recommendations. So it's important that you make sure that your comments are noted so that they can come out with a plan come winter time. They've already asked for feedback and they've received over 700 responses. And some of those have come to the point of increased frequency on the weekends, weekdays, and overnight, new limited stop service, new and extended routes, microtransit, where a lot of the fixed route routes wouldn't be able to run, as well as regional buses. So essentially, they're showing two different parts of this: the enhanced frequency scenario and the expanded service scenario. And you'll see this with a lot of bus network redesigns, and especially ones that are what's known as the term of it is cost neutral. So if it's cost neutral, that usually means that they're going to rearrange routes instead of creating new routes. Or if they are creating new routes, they're taking service away from certain routes. So that's something to look for if your city or if your transit agency is proposing a bus network redesign, is the difference between frequency and service. With service or with coverage, as what they call it, they're making sure that more parts of the service area of your transit agency has some kind of service in general. And with frequency, they're wanting to make sure that there are more routes that are run more often. So if you only have maybe 5 frequent service routes, then they'll probably increase it to 8 or 10 frequent routes. And it says, please share your feedback by October 18th to inform the final BMore bus plan and help MTA as we envision the future and work towards additional transit resources. So, this is a great example of looking into what these plans look like so that you can gain a better understanding of what they're trying to do and also chime in with what you think they should do. We're talking about making sure that your voice is heard, and this is a great way. Now, this has an interactive site to where you can look at some of the improvements that they are recommending. Um, so first, let's look at the recommended service improvements and scenarios. And we see the page. And it says, introduction, the purpose of the BMore bus study is to present a vision for bus service in the Baltimore region that MTA could work towards implementing over the next 10 years with additional resources. And it says, click to provide feedback. So let's click on it. And you see that it literally just goes to a survey. So we'll save that for now. And we'll look at this map and we'll expand it out. And I'll try to go slow so that if you're following along with me, that you could follow along and you can see what's going on. So you can see a map here of the service. And if you see the darker lines in the different colors, those are the rail services. So you can see here, this orange line is the Mark Penn line, which runs from DC to Perryville, Maryland, via Baltimore. So you click on it, you can get the name, which is Penn, Washington. So this is the Penn line and the service that it runs under. And this is for Mark, which is the commuter rail service that runs in Maryland. And it also has rail. And here's another line, which is the Metrolink subway that runs through Baltimore. You can see the proof of that there. Let's zoom in with this so we can get a sense of a closer look. So I'll just go ahead and share a couple of the bus routes that I take. So one of them is the CityLink line, which should be here. So if you see, the CityLink line runs from the Northwest Hospital in Baltimore County here, and it goes down to Harbor East here. So I use this bus sometimes to get to Penn Station, which is here, which is right here in this area. And I also will use this as an alternative to the subway when it's not running. So you kind of get the gist of what this means. This is another route that I'll sometimes take, the CityLink Blue, which if you're in Baltimore, I'd also encourage you to go to some of the Raise project meetings where they're going to be talking about improvements to the CityLink Blue and the CityLink Orange. Those are really helpful as the city of Baltimore received a $50 million grant to improve bus service along these routes. So, but yeah, we'll zoom out of that. You've got a sense of what that means. So we'll continue to go down and look at this. Now, I'll read this. It says, in spring 2024, you told us about your top priorities for bus service. Now MTA is presenting service improvement types and draft route level recommendations based on feedback, travel, and demographic data and equity considerations. We're showing two different visions of what this additional bus service could look like in the Baltimore region, the enhanced frequency scenario and the expanded service scenario. The improvements presented in these scenarios could be possible with construction of a new 5th MTA division facility. So what essentially that means is that for most bus services, they either divided into different divisions or they have different garages to where a lot of those buses are deployed. So if MTA were to get a 5th division, which would be probably a 5th part of town, a 5th region of the area, or a new garage, then they could probably push more service out. It also goes on to say, while MTA envisions a future with 5 bus divisions to provide better, more reliable transit service, the BMore bus plan will also recommend other options for service improvements that could possibly be implemented before a 5th division is constructed. In the meantime, the BMore bus plan will help guide future funding requests by clearly communicating the benefits these service improvements will provide. It continues, recommendations in the BMore bus plan will ultimately help strengthen its service, reliability, MTA's continued focus on infrastructure improvements like dedicated bus lanes and transit signal priority, as well as efforts to hire a complete team of bus operators and mechanics to limit unplanned service cuts, will further increase reliability and set the stage for successful implementation of the BMore bus plan in the years to come. Um, so it says scroll through the story map to learn more about the BMore bus plans. And the first part is service improvements and route level recommendations. So we will go to that tab here. And it reads that these first three types of improvements improve service standards, new limited stop quick link routes, and new extended routes could be implemented with additional MTA operator, fleet, and facility resources. This increase in resources would require construction of a fifth bus division facility. Today, MTA has 4 division facilities where the agency's buses are maintained and stored. So there it goes. All 4 divisions are currently at full capacity and there is no space for additional bus storage. For an increase in bus service in the Baltimore region, MTA would need to construct a new 5th division. For a refresher on the different core bus services, CityLink, LocalLink, ExpressLink, and QuickLink, see the FAQs. So it says improved service frequency standards. Service standards are the minimum guidelines for how frequently buses should come. This improvement would increase the service frequency standards of buses and the hours that they operate system-wide. Note in the story map, both service standards and frequency standards refer to these minimum guidelines. So we're looking down and it says improved weekday service standards. On weekdays, local link buses would operate at least every 30 minutes from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., which is an increase from the current standard of every 30 minutes during peak periods only. Likewise, CityLink buses would run every 10 minutes from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., which is an increase from the minimum of every 15 minutes. And it says to the right is the existing weekday frequency standards at midday. Scroll down to compare the existing weekday frequency standards with the improved weekday frequency standards at midday. Click the routes on each map for individual detail. So we'll expand this out. And we'll look at some of these. So you see the pink lines are usually the ones that are representing 15 minutes or better for the existing frequency during the week. So in Baltimore, there's quite a bit of them. So we'll zoom into a lot of them. And I'll point out to the one I mentioned before with the CityLink line. Oh, you can't. Okay, well, I guess there it is. So what I clicked on was the CityLink orange, which is one of the current frequent routes, which you see right here. It says midday frequency in minutes, 15 minutes or better. Now, this is one of the crosstown routes, as you can see. I zoomed out way too much. So it goes from Essex, which is in Baltimore County, to the east, and it goes westward into Baltimore City through downtown, and it ends at the West Baltimore MART station. So you see that, and you also see the bus that I mentioned earlier, the CityLink line, which is also a frequency of 15 minutes or better. So you see both of the examples like this. You also see the other frequencies. In the purple, it has 15 to 30 minutes. So let's click on one of them. So this one is the Route 56, which goes from downtown to White Marsh Mall in Baltimore County. So you can see the midday frequency is every 15 to 30 minutes. So it varies based off on the time of day, where if it's more midday, it's usually more 30 minutes, where if it's more on the fringes of rush hour, it's usually 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And then you also see that there are even fainter blue lines like this one. This is the Route 82, which goes between Reisterstown Plaza and near the Reisterstown Station, and it goes also near Mondawmin I think this is Mondawmin. Yeah, the Mondawmin Mall and the Mondawmin subway station. So these runs every 30 to 60 minutes. And then so on and so forth. But this is an example of that and the differentiating routes with that. Now it goes on to say improved weekend service standards. On weekends, local link buses would operate at least every 30 minutes or better from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., which is an increase from the minimum of every 60 minutes. CityLink buses would run every 15 minutes from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. on the weekends, which is an increase from the minimum of every 20 minutes. To the right is the existing weekend frequency standards. Scroll to compare the existing weekend frequency standard with improved frequency standards. So if you can see, right now there are less lines that meet this much. But it is a good improvement from what it used to be. As they said before, a lot of the frequent routes will go from 30 minutes to 15 minutes. So if you look at this, the Lime route that I talked about is no longer lit up. So it's showing that the weekend frequency would be 30 to 60 minutes. We do see, however, if we can click on this, the CityLink Blue is lit up of weekend frequency of 15 minutes or better. So that's an example of that. We don't see as much of an improvement with the CityLink Orange, unfortunately. If we can click on this. No, that's not it. Oh, what we do? This is a CityLink Orange where it says the weekend frequency would be 15 to 30. So you see with this map that there are some levels of frequency, and especially for some crosstown routes, but not with others. So if you see right here, there's the CityLink Red, the CityLink Green is here. This is the CityLink Brown, and this is, where is this? Oh, I think this is a new, oh no, this is 85. So you see they're trying to switch around some of these bus routes to gain frequent service. I noticed that there's not really many of these routes that move south of town, so that would be something that I would comment on. Of why is there no frequent routes on the weekend that move south of downtown Baltimore? And this is just kind of reasoning that you can just look on the map and just kind of see where a lot of this service would go, because this is one of the frequent routes that does run frequent during the week, but as you can see, it does not run frequent during the weekend. And this services many neighborhoods like Cherry Hill, as well as with Brooklyn and Curtis Bay. And those are neighborhoods of really great transit needs. So it's a little questioning as far as why this is. And it says to the right is the improved weekend frequency standards. Scroll up to compare it with the existing weekend frequency standards. Click on the routes on each map for individual retail. So this is actually what they're proposing. And you can see there's a lot more. My Lime is not necessarily a part of this, but you can see that there is another bus that I take, the CityLink Pink, which is what I usually take to get to the West Baltimore MART station. That's actually lit up. And you can see that there's a different color coding that's added into here with the orange, which shows 10 minutes or better. Ironically, it's not on this map. But if you can also see, our questions was answered about this route on the CityLink Silver, that it actually does show up, and it shows 15 minutes or better. So there are definite improvements with this one. So one of the improvements that I would make with this is calling for or seeing why there is no improvements for this. Because, like I said, this is a route that I take to get to Penn Station, which is a huge connector to Amtrak services, because this is the only Amtrak station in the city of Baltimore. So it is important to make sure that there is connections to that, so that you're not having to do so much transferring. Let's move on. All right. Moving on to improved overnight service standards. CityLink and key local link routes would also see overnight service frequencies increase to every 30 minutes from every 60 plus minutes. To the right is the existing overnight frequency standards. Scroll to compare the existing overnight frequency standards with the improved overnight frequency standards. So, Baltimore is one of the very few cities in the country that actually runs service 24/7. If you go around Baltimore, do any hour of the day, any hour of the night, there's some bus running. So currently, right now, this is the map of um, overnight service. So you see with the pink, it signifies every 15 minutes or better. There's one route that meets this need, and that is the CityLink Navy that goes um, down towards the port, and it links up here with the CityLink Navy. And that is the only one that actually runs frequent service currently overnight. And then the purple ones are 15 minutes to 30 minutes. So you can see the city, like the route I mentioned, the CityLink Pink, or the 56 is one of them. Um, and as well as the CityLink Pink, if it can highlight. Yep, there it goes. So you can kind of see where the existing standards doesn't really help if you need to get somewhere overnight. And I've also experienced times when I've needed to access the airport, um, because the light rail doesn't run past 10 p.m. On certain nights. So the 75 is an example of a route that doesn't have as frequent service, but it does run overnight. But it only runs at that 30 to 60-minute window. So we will go down and we will look at what this improved frequency looks like. And it doesn't look like there's too much of a difference, other than the fact that if we go back, we can see where it is now versus the change. And it doesn't seem like there's much changes with this frequency. Even with the one going to the airport, which is a comment that I will make, um, to increase the level of service to the airport, and especially with just kind of being cognizant of not only the people who are flying in, but the people who are working at the airport or working these overnight and second and third shifts. Um, so that will be something I will note. The next one says new limited stop quick link routes. It says quick link routes would follow the same alignments as city link routes, but quick link would add express limited stop service along these corridors. Quick link would reduce travel times for riders going long distances and increase the number of trips on these corridors. The plan recommends eight new quick link routes extending from downtown to all four corners of the region. And it says click the buttons below to view the new quick link routes. So you can see the list here, and I can read some of them. Quick link Brown will be quick link service along Bel Air Road to White Marsh along discontinued CityLink Brown to White Marsh Pattern. And this used to be a route that went all the way to White Marsh Mall. So this will be quick link. So it won't stop at every single block, but it will be added in addition to the existing Brown service. Quick Link Green to add service between downtown and Towson, and that's this one. So this will provide quicker service to Towson, which is an edge city north of Baltimore. Quick Link Lime, Quick Link service from Northwest Hospital to Penn North, and that's here. Quick Link Pink, service from West Baltimore Mart Station and Centennial Avenue. Quick Link Red, with Quick Link service between downtown and Towson along York Road. Note that it comes from North Avenue and it doesn't come from downtown. Quick Link Silver, which is Quick Link service between Curtis Bay and Johns Hopkins Homewood. Quick Link 29, which is service between Mondawmin and Patapsco via Caton Avenue, which is this right here in West Baltimore. If I can highlight it. So right here. As well as Quick Link 85 between Penn North and Milford Mill. And I think this right here. And if you hit them, like I should have, it'll show you a highlight of that map already. So this is a really great interactive map to kind of break this down, because a lot of people don't necessarily use like oral, but visual definitely helps. So this also goes on to say new and extended routes. And it says 3 brand new local link routes in Eastern Baltimore County would expand riders' access to jobs and allow them to transfer to the proposed on-demand transit microtransit service detailed in Part 3. And it says click on the buttons below to view the new local link routes. So we'll start with this one, Perry Hall to Middle River. And it actually brings access to one of the MART stations in Eastern Baltimore County, known as Martin State Airport. So this would actually be a great way to bring folks from there to White Marsh Mall and up to Perry Hall. This one is White Marsh to Essex, which is kind of a route that goes completely within Baltimore County, and TPA to Bowles Corners, which is another route that goes completely in Eastern Baltimore County. It's also says extended routes. Changes to 6 existing route alignments would provide more access to key destinations, fill current gaps in service, and improve the reliability of existing routes. Click the button to review the recommended route extensions. So we'll start with CityLink Yellow. This will actually split into 2 routes that overlap to improve reliability and provide additional service downtown. So if you're familiar with Baltimore, you know that the CityLink Yellow goes into this weird kind of moving motion through downtown. So that's essentially what it will be divided into, is A and B. So A will be kind of downtown and northward into Druid Hill Park, and then ending at Mondawmin. And B will go from downtown and kind of going through that southwestern part of Baltimore into Halethorpe, as well as to ending at the Patapsco station. And I won't go through all these routes, but Local Link 30 is a local link that will kind of connect you from the eastern part of Baltimore to the western part of Baltimore. So this is another example of a crosstown route. Local Link 31, you'll see Local Link 32, Local Link 85, and then Quick Link 40. Now the Quick Link is one of the current Quick Link bus routes. So you can see it starts in West Baltimore and it goes way over into Essex. So those are examples of that. Now we're getting into part 2, scenarios. It says, using a combination of the potential service improvements and draft route recommendations from part 1, MTA has created 2 different visions for what additional bus service in part 1 could look like in the Baltimore region: the enhanced frequency scenario or the expanded service scenario. Because faster service was a top priority from the spring 2024 survey, both scenarios include frequency improvements. Each scenario would cost the same total amount of operative fleet and facility resources, roughly equivalent to what a new fifth division could provide. The enhanced frequency scenario uses all additional resources for only frequency improvements to existing routes, while the expanded service scenario shifts some of the additional resources to include new limited stop service and new extended routes. As you scroll, consider which scenario aligns with what you envision for the future. So this is scenario one, and this is more of focusing on frequency. Now, this is focusing on the weekday frequency. And they even have kind of a map shed, a transit shed, basically showing of how close these services would be within a quarter of a mile of your location. So um, we'll go back to the route that I use, which is the CityLink line. And it has midday frequency is 15 to 30 minutes. But as you can see, all of the core area within the city of Baltimore is usually within a quarter mile of access to very frequent service. And the frequent service is notated with either these orange lines, which are 10 minutes or better, or the red lines, which are 15 minutes or better. And you can see there's a lot of these routes that fit into this orange line. So this is a really good improvement in some instances to where you're not going to be without frequent service if you're mostly in a lot of these areas within the central district of Baltimore. Now, if you're going out to the suburbs, you can see some of these routes fit the 10-minute need, like the CityLink Orange going to Essex. You also have the CityLink Red and the CityLink Green, or that go to Towson. And you also have the CityLink Lime, which in the western part of Baltimore is frequent service, but as soon as you get more into the city, then it doesn't fit that need for frequent service. Still nothing as much going to the airport, and I think it's just mostly because it's served by rail, but the rail, we get into another conversation about that. So this is currently what it looks like with existing weekday service standards. As you can see, the pink, the dark pink lines are 15 minutes or better. So this is what it looks like now. And as you can see, the lime is lit up as 15 minutes or better midday frequency. But as you look at it, when it changes, it goes away. So it's not necessarily helping me. And I've also noticed with this route that there are a lot of kids that take these buses, and the buses are usually packed when getting on or getting off. So that's a comment that I will make with this. But we'll look at the weekend service standards. As you can see some of the pink lines which show 15 minutes better. But with looking at the improved service standards, you see a little bit more of a difference, but mostly within the 15 to 30 minute range, as you can see here. So you see a little bit. And then we're going to look at the overnight service standards. You can see some of these routes here of what exists now. And if you change it, you have some routes that improve service, but some that don't. Now, it says the recommended improvements in the enhanced frequency scenario could mean less time spent planning around or waiting for the bus anywhere on the system. It also means more buses for people in the existing service area whose jobs don't follow a 9-to-5 schedule, or for those who take the bus outside of peak commute hours to run errands, go to the doctors, or visit family and friends. Now, scenario 2 is the expanded service scenario. And it says the expanded service scenario balances the using additional resources for improving frequency standards with using resources for expanding or filling gaps in the existing service area. With improved frequency standards for many existing routes, and the addition of new limited stop quick link routes. You could catch a bus within 10 to 15 minutes at many places on the system on weekdays and within no more than every 30 minutes anywhere on the system overnight and on the weekends. Also, in this network, new and extended routes could increase access to jobs, healthcare, and schools within and just outside Baltimore City. So let's look at the existing weekday service. So this is what it looks like existing. I don't know where the. So you see the pink routes are usually denotes some of the quick link pink. So this is probably a new quick link to where it's limited services, and like they stop every few half miles or so. So you see these improvements. This is what the weekend service looks like, and this is what the new 30-minute services will look like on the weekends. And then this is also a map of the new quick link routes, the new alignment changes, and the new bus routes. Now, part 3 says other service improvement options. It says this plan also identifies options for other bus service improvements that could be implemented without a fifth division facility while complementing either scenario. Contracted services are transit services that receive funding from MTA but could be fully or partially operated by contractors. Since the contractor is typically responsible for vehicle procurement, storage, and maintenance, the contracted improvements wouldn't be dependent on construction on a fifth division of substantial capital project for MTA. MTA could implement contracted services sooner than the recommendations identified in the above scenarios. The services that are the best candidates for contract option are microtransit, a new on-demand door-to-door ride within specific zones that customers request via their smartphone, regional bus, a longer distance limited stop connecting people to downtown Baltimore from areas outside the MTA core service area. So with looking at this, and for those who aren't familiar with microtransit, it's similar to Uber or Lyft, to where you pick up and you drop off in a certain area, but it's door to door. Now, we've done videos and we've talked to folks about this, about the dangers of microtransit, because it's not necessarily the most equitable form of transit, and especially if you do not have the capabilities of a smartphone or if you are needing ADA services. So a lot of these will be focused on Baltimore County, as well as with certain parts of the city of Baltimore. So as you can see, you see some parts of it in Ricerstown and Owings Mills, which would be helpful if you shop in Owings Mills. Parts of Randallstown, where you don't have as much bus service. Parts of Woodlawn. You see parts of Edmondson. There's parts of Brooklyn and Glen Burnie. These parts of Southwest Baltimore. Parts of Frankford. Parts of Middle River and Perry Hall. So these are considerations for the microtransit zones. And then it also mentions regional bus. And it says 3 proposed regional bus routes could improve transit connections from Baltimore to Frederick, Annapolis, and Columbia. The proposed route to Annapolis and Columbia would run every 30 minutes from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. on weekdays in both directions. The proposed route to Frederick would run every 60 minutes from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. on weekdays, in both directions. All 3 proposed routes would run every 60 minutes from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekends. So we see where we'll look at the regional route to Frederick. And if y'all can see on this map, Frederick's a pretty good distance from Baltimore. So this would definitely make, if you can picture DC, Frederick, Baltimore, and Annapolis in kind of a square, this would really help facilitate a lot of this traffic. Baltimore into Annapolis. Now, this would be in addition to a local route that runs along this way that runs from Annapolis um, to the Patapsco Light Rail Station. So this would really help just kind of mitigate that from people traveling to Annapolis. And then here's a route to Columbia, somewhere that is not really serviced by um, transit and directly to Baltimore. So this would also be another tremendous improvement. Part four is comparing the scenarios. Scenario one would be enhanced frequency. Scenario two would be enhanced expanded service. And there's the benefits of it and the access. And it kind of just shows you of how many people will be serviced to this. So you see, as far as the equity concerns of how many people of color would serve, how many people of low income would be served, people with disabilities, as well as households without a vehicle. So let's go to the provide feedback form. And we'll do the feedback form together. All right, question one, it says, which scenario best reflects your vision for bus service in the Baltimore region? And I'll go with the first one because the frequencies is what really matters with this. What do you like about this scenario? I appreciate the enhanced frequencies on the weekends and midday during the week. Would you change anything about the scenario's route level recommendations? I would extend the frequent service all the way down the line link line to help kids get to and from school and commuters reaching in station. I would also change the frequency overnight on the 75 for people getting to and from DWI Airport, where when both rail services are shut down. All right. And it says, question four, how would you use resources to create a vision for future bus service? Rank the types of service improvements to show how you would distribute resources. So this is a place where you could rank this. So you could rank it based on what you think is the best as the highest, which would, in this case would be number one, or the lowest, which would be number 6. So I would do improved weekend frequency as number 1. I do like limited stops, so that would be number 2. I think the new local routes wouldn't necessarily matter to me as much, so I'll put that as 6. The extended routes would be in the middle. I really do care about the overnight frequency. Okay. And it says your microtransit and regional bus service preferences. Please identify your top priorities for microtransit and regional bus service below. Annapolis to Baltimore, Columbia to Baltimore. Let's see. Ricestown, Owings Mills, Cockeysville. Let's see. I thought that'd be interesting. Okay, it says select up to 5. Okay. So was Baltimore. All right, and then question 6 is, do you have any other comments for the MTA team as we work to finalize the BMore bus plan? And this is something where you can put in any comments. So if you have any comment that probably just wasn't mentioned in here, this is where you can put it. So for this one, I would reach out to the Baltimore City students that have to take the buses. Their output is valuable. Right. And then you just put your name, your email address, and then hit next. And then they're going to ask you some questions. And then that's it. So it's just that simple of being able to take a survey. So I hope this was helpful. And especially if your city is going through some kind of bus network redesign or some kind of design such as this. But yeah, let me see if there are any questions or comments. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. And let me know if there's any other sites that you all want me to review. I'm definitely available to review them. And definitely send this to anyone that you may know could definitely help for this. A few things before we leave. We're looking for folks to represent our steering committee for Transit Equity Day. As you know, that we're currently planning for Transit Equity Day for 2025. So if you have anyone that would like to spend a couple of minutes, maybe once or twice a month, to go over what we want Transit Equity Day to look like, then definitely email me. And I will show my email address, Bakari@labor4sustainability.org. That's Bakari@labor4sustainability.org. We would love to have some folks definitely take part in making sure that Transit Equity Day 2025 is really great. Once again, subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Transit Equity Network, where we're going to be putting more of our meetings, as well as our Transit Equity office hours, as well as other webinars and good discussions. Also follow us on our Facebook and our Twitter page @Transit Equity Network and Transit Equity In on Twitter. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will leave you with a recommendation for our Transit Equity Day. But from everyone here at LNS and the Transit Equity Network, my name is Bakari Hyde. Thank you so much for joining us.
We're here today to shout out from the mountaintops that workers and riders from all neighborhoods and walks of life should have safe, affordable, and reliable means of transportation without stress of struggle.
4 years ago, on February 4th, Rosa Parks' birthday, in partnership with the Amalgamated Transit Union, we launched Transit Equity Day to declare transit equity as a civil right.
During the pandemic, transit workers have been a lifeline to our communities and frontline workers who must get to their life-saving jobs.
Losing the battle for public transit is losing the war for the working class.
We have always been essential.
For low-income communities and communities of color, owning a car is often out of reach. And without a car, finding job opportunities is a struggle. It doesn't have to be this way.
From the elderly to the young, to the middle, to the disabled. Make it fair for everyone.
I am totally blind from birth with multiple other disabilities. Transit-dependent riders, youth, elders, people with disabilities have no choice but to ride.
The lack of quality private transit services significantly hinders the ability of people with disabilities to live full lives.
This is an equity issue in terms of making sure we have the transit system that actually serves not just the well-to-do, but every working person and every poor person.
It was challenging for me to wake up early every day and try my best to not miss the bus, but I had so much tolerance, not because I was playing around, but because of public transportation.
Make no mistake, transit and postal service both serve to preserve and foster our democracy.
Public officials need to be listening to this, and they need to do something about this.
We need to prioritize a clean economy, which includes transportation.
There is only about a 10-year window left to reduce emissions in order to avoid cataclysmic climate change.
Before being hired by BYD, I drove long-haul truck. At BYD, I'm able to make electric buses. They don't put out toxic fumes. Clean energy versus diesel energy. Big difference, makes the heart feel good.
We can fund transit and we can fund clean energy. We must fund them both
because the public counts on it and they need it.